Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Haven't done one of these in a while, but I hope you do enjoy our content. Before I get into today's video, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. All the links for our social media and Discord server, everything's down below in the description section if you haven't checked this out on any of those yet. Without further ado, let's get to today's video. Alright, so I am kind of nostalgic when it comes to video games, movies, even board games and such. Now, I visited a local Goodwill store recently, and I picked up two items that I'm going to be doing reviews for. And today's first review is going to be the 1980s version of Monopoly. This is something that I grew up with as a kid. This is one of the versions of Monopoly that my parents had, and I remember it so well. And nowadays, you got all these different types of Monopoly out there based off of pop events, pop stars, TV shows, movies, and such, whatever. But nothing compares to what we grew up with when it comes to the original game. And the game's been out for almost 100 years. So let's take a trip down memory lane and take a look at this game. And let's see if all the pieces are there too, because you can never trust a thrift store when it comes to board games. Okay, so here it is, guys. This is the version of Monopoly that I remember, that I grew up with in the late 1980s, 1990s. Doesn't really look that long. I remember it felt longer, you know, like the longest board. Like, this is the actual, how the game looked back in the day. You know, you got the original Parker Brothers logo. That's who created the game back in, I think, the 1930s and all. But yeah, this is the original 1980s version, and there's been different variations of the game throughout, you know, the last 70, 80 years. So, but this is the one that I grew up with, and I'm pretty sure in everybody's household back then, you had this version of Monopoly. And of course, now what compares to today's versions of Monopoly, today's versions go up to 6 players, I believe. There's even some variations that go up to 4 players. This is one of the ones that goes up to 8 players. So you can have 8 players playing this game. And the rule book, all the rules for Monopoly, they kind of change up over the years with the different variations of the game. And plus, people will play their own style of Monopoly. Like, some will put money in the middle of the board, and whoever lands on free parking will get that money. But let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. So we got the board. Board's always on the layout on the top, and I don't know. To me, I feel like the board is a lot bigger than some of the other traditional boards that you see today with all the different variations of Monopoly. But this is the one I remember, and I really do enjoy playing. Now, if you were a kid, like, you know, when I had a version of Monopoly Junior where the board was smaller and a little bit more rectangular and it had less spaces. But this one here, I feel like the spaces are a little bit more spread out. They're a little bit more wider or bigger or whatever. So this is the one that I remember. But the ones you got today, they're folded up, you know, into 4 segments and you unfold them. But this one, it's just like you fold it in half. So this is the original board right here. You know, the blue layout in the back. I like that. And then, of course, you know, you still got, and I went through this already, and I went through all the pieces to make sure all the pieces were here. I want to show you, this is, you know, what to expect when you buy a board game from a Goodwill or a thrift store. So it does come with this little, this blue slot right here, and it gives you questions about Monopoly rules. If you guys want to pause the video and look over that, these are different questions that people ask about certain things doing the game, and then you got Monopoly facts here, right here. So I'm surprised to see this in the game, you know, and inside the thing complete, which is really neat. The money is probably not the way you probably see it in other versions of Monopoly, but this is how it, you know, originally was colored. Now, what I find hilarious about this version, whoever had it last, not only do they got the original money in there, but they also printed Monopoly money too. So you still got some somewhere, you know, you still got some money that is original, you know, front and back. But I guess they either must have lost some money or got thrown away or something. I don't know. But whoever had it last, they ended up printing out money for the game, which, you know, back then you wouldn't think about doing that. You bought another game or whatever. But yeah, there's so much more money here. Like, you know, there's a lot more in each denomination, which, you know, which is good, because I figure, you know, even though a lot of the original money pieces are still here, and there are some Fugazi ones in here, but I figure it's Monopoly, you know, you got plenty of money to work with, so it is what it is. So then I always sort the cards out, you know, I keep them sorted out that way whenever you play a game, or whenever I play a game, I don't have to dig through everything to get everything sorted out, you know, and situated. But yeah, these are all the community and chance cards, and I already checked, well, as far as I know, they are all here. Everything is here. The originals, like collect $50 from every player, advance to go, and then you got your chance cards. And yes, they do have the get out of jail free cards, and I think they do have cards in here for go directly to jail. So all these cards are intact. And then you got the property cards too, you know, the original property cards, how they look, if you remember how they look. Now, with this, getting this from a thrift store, I will say, after going through every piece that is here, the only thing that is missing are 2 property pieces for the yellow. So you only got 1 yellow piece. So, which is funny, because when I checked in the box, and I had to ask myself, why are there 2 sorry pieces in here? But when I went through the cards, and I saw that there was exactly 2 cards missing, so they probably used these as the properties, which is kind of odd, but I guess they did need something to fulfill it with, so that it's all good, you know, as long as you know that you bought the properties when you play the game, it is what it is. Alright, now we do have all the original pieces, all 8 pieces for the game. You know, you got the horseman, if you can see that there. We got the little metallic dog. You got the little battleship here, the metal iron, the little car, the hat. You got a little thimble piece, which is usually used for like knitting and sewing. And I guess this is not a cannon. Well, it's not a cannon. It's one of those wheels that spin wool or cotton or whatever it is. I forgot what it's called. And then you got the wheelbarrow. Now, I remember a few years ago, Monopoly voted out to get rid of one of the pieces. I can't remember which one it was. But, you know, if you get a hold of this game, you know, you got all the original pieces. You don't have to worry about buying any versions of Monopoly today that have that piece missing. So this is all the original pieces right here. And then, of course, all the houses and the motels are with the game, too. Actually, I didn't really count them out, so they're probably not all here. But then again, you could probably find these pieces online on eBay or somewhere. But what I did find hilarious, aside from the printed money, is the amount of dice. Now, there's only 2 dice needed for a Monopoly game, but I guess whoever had this last figure, okay, we're going to play a version of Asshole Monopoly. Let's roll 4, and let's move around the entire board and get the game done faster. I found that pretty funny, but I guess if you end up losing dice or whatever, it's always good to have spare on hand, because some games you do get that require 2 dice to roll. Sometimes you get 1, you know, and it's almost kind of hard to find dice nowadays, but then again, you can go to a local game store and you can actually find a pair of dice laying around and use that. And then, of course, lastly but not least, you know, the original instruction manual for the game is in here. It has been a little bit worn out, but it's not very tearing, but you can definitely tell it reeks with age. So this is definitely the rules for it, you know, the original rules. It even tells you, you know, the original how many people get how many denominations of what brand of money, you know, like, okay, you get 2 500s and 2 100s, etc., etc. So yeah, everything is pretty much here within the game. And like I said, if you do decide to pick something like this up from like eBay or maybe a local thrift store, you do kind of take that risk at buying something and not having all the pieces there, but you can always find that stuff online, which makes it convenient. This game, I bought it at Goodwill for $5, and that is something I could not pass up on, especially now that I went through the entire thing. Every piece is here, except for 2 pieces, which they managed to, you know, substitute it with something else, which is okay, so we can work around it. But other than that, everything is here, and it's just so good to be able to look at the original Monopoly board in its fashion from back in the day. So there you go, guys. What do you guys think about the original Monopoly? You know, like the original Parker Brothers version. I think Hasbro owns them now. I can't remember. But I am glad to have picked this up for $5 at Goodwill. So if you guys are able to pick it up somewhere, do so. Like I said, you do take the chance of something missing from it. If so, then that's all right. You can always substitute stuff. You can always buy stuff online. Do you guys still got this version of Monopoly or any other board game that I review? Let us know down in the comments section. And until the next video,